Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lilu Nishmas Imi Miros Rusbus Mordechai. In the Atzola headquarters in Chicago. Hello, Rav Eli. Thank you for setting an example for all of us from the French Alps. You showed us all that we can take our kids on vacation and that meaningful learning doesn't need to take a back seat. That one doesn't need to find themselves in a situation of playing catch-up because while we were away, I didn't do the daf. To that end, we went away as a family to Tveria for a number of days, and one of our daughters snapped this picture of me learning the daf before we boarded our boat for a morning of fun on the Kinneret. Clearly, extra credit should be given for wearing the MDY merch on the Kinneret. Enjoy your time in Chicago. Shkoyach once again. Chakoshev Samech. Michal Green. Here he is. Gewaldig. What a guy. What a guy. Over here, another guy snapped a picture of Meir Dickstein, big fan of MDY, caught doing the daf late one night in Jackson, New Jersey. Was guaranteed he's listening to Rebellion, that earpiece. Had a jacket, Gemara, the whole thing. Gewaldig. And that's it. Okay. Rabbi Isai, once again, these are the final days. Literally, we only have like 3 days left to push that volume 2 of Yevamos. If you haven't done so, please tell your friends to join mdy.com. I think it is. What is it? Anybody? Join MDY and grow. They're shipping you a case. Why? To give out here. Call sponsors for the month. Anonymous and zechus of Hillel Ben Sardino and Rivka Bas. Don't worry, it's not usually like this format. I just pasted it here so it all came out. I'll try to read it normally. Paras HaChodesh, friends and family, Refuah Shelaima for Yaakov Yehuda ben Gittel. Paras HaChodesh, Bresler, Austein, Rosenberg, Schulman, and Tobias families, the zechus Refuah Shelaima for Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yisrael, Meir, David, Ben Yocheved, Druk Shlita. Paras HaChodesh, by the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because Torah is the best segula. Paras HaChodesh, Chodesh Nisan, sponsored by Yoli, Linshmas Doiv, Pirz Ben Moshe, Olav Shalom, Linshmas Chama, Chai from Baz, Doiv, Dov Pinchas Aleh Shalom, Linshmas, Cheshragi Ben Abraham Levi Aleh Shalom. Paras HaChodesh, Ahron Fraiman and zechus Parnos and Siyat Shmaying Kedirat Lock and Eli. Oh, and I got an email from Ahron Fraiman that he says the entire thing is for me. Shkoyach Ahron Fraiman. So retroactive, it's all me. L'zechus Parnosa and Siyat Shmaying Kedirat Lock and Eli. By Abba Rennert, Lili Nishmas, Rav Shimshon David Ben Rav, Ahron Chaim Pinchos, Zechet Tzadik Lebracha, Refuah Shelaima for all of Klal Yisroel. I don't know, that's Mr. Anonymous. Rabbi Isai, here we go. Today is Daf Lamed Zayin. We're plowing through Masechtas Yevamos. So, yesterday we had an amazing case where there's a suffix. We have a baby that was born, and we're not exactly sure im kalu chadashav, if it was a full-term baby or not. Now, if this full-term baby suddenly died, it sneezed, it yawned, and then died, then we could assume that it's a nefel and the story. So we said what happened was, it had a tragic accident, fell off a roof, car accident, something happened. But we're in a suffix. We don't know if this was a viable baby or not a viable baby. And in Mela, we don't know if this baby is going to pater for Yibum or not. Is this woman still chayiv to get chalitza Yibum or no? She had a baby. What happened was somebody comes along and is mekadesh this woman. So we say, listen, I'm sorry, the woman needs chalitza. But here's the amazing halacha. If that person that was mekadesher was a kohen, we go light on him, we go easy on him. Because if he gives her chalitza, chalitza is like a get. And if it's a get, he cannot remarry this woman forever. So therefore we say, you know what? You don't have to. So Gemara said, whoa, you don't have to do chalitza. You might as well just start giving out a terim to eat chelev and chazer. So that's where we are right now, top of Lamed Zayin, Amud Aleph. So there happens to be a story with Rabbi Yashiv talking about a kohen who we make a special dispensation for, and we say he doesn't have to do chalitza. There was a kohen who, after 10 years being married, true story, after 10 years of being married, his wife didn't have any children. So based on halacha, and he wanted to have children, and the halacha says after 10 years, you give it a 10-year try. No, he divorces his wife. A little while later, his wife calls him up, his ex-wife, and by the way, I'm pregnant. Now, since he's a kohen, he can't remarry her. Big boo-boo. So there's no such thing as a get patos. Yeah, it is. It's like what is it called? A megach tos, get patos, yeah. So he goes to Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv says, I can't help you out, but he tells him to go to the kaisel. I never really heard moishim like this from Rabbi Yashiv. He tells him to go to the kaisel. Anyway, he goes to the kaisel, and he's crying his heart out over there, and the guy comes over and says, what's the matter? And he tells him, he says, I know your dad, and I think you should have a little conversation with him. So he, whatever that means, he goes, he calls up his father, has a whole shmooze with him. His father tells him, you're adopted. That was that story. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. Here we are. How far down are we? Do you know? Omar Lei? Okay, so Omar Rava. Omar Rava, Baburt Omar Rava, Hachi, Ubetzafra Adar Bey. In the morning, he said that in the morning, he said, Yechayev Chalitza. Afterwards, he says, Yepater Chalitza. Omar Lei, Sharitu, Yeravad, Tishtru, Aftarba. How could you say that you're pater from Chalitza, but just because he's a kohen, you might as well just tell people they could eat chaylev treif. Hachanami muberes chaveroi umenekes chaver. This is where we're holding. Hachanami muberes chaver umenekes chaver and asula koyamai. Do we have the same kind of halacha where it says that if a woman gets divorced and she has a child, so she's not allowed to get married for 24 months? As long as the child is still nursing, we're concerned that she'll get pregnant again. If she gets pregnant, it could destroy the milk, and if she doesn't have milk, the baby could die. 24 months. What happens if a kohen jumps in and marries this woman? Do we say, since he's a kohen, we'll be nice to him. He doesn't have to divorce her, because if he divorces her, he'll never be able to marry her again. What's the connection between the case of a Yevama, somebody who just didn't wait 3 months, and a kohen? Bishlema hasam, if the child dies within 30 days, there's the chachamim you could always rely on. So we're going to rely on chachamim. In other words, even if you all are Reb Shimon Gamliel, but we have a problem here. We have a kohen that needs to get married. We don't want to ruin his life. He likes this woman. If you tell him to get divorced from her, he'll never be able to marry her again. So let's rely on chachamim. There's a Rav I heard, without going into names in Yerushalayim. If you come to him with a hat and jackets, he says, "Oh, you're Yeshiva." She gives you this kind of psak, a little bit more stringent. If you without a lot of guys, they take off the hat and jacket, they walk in. Okay, you're a bum. I'll give you a different psak. So here, you're a kohen. We're going to go now with the Rabbanan. Rabbanan said, "You know what? There was a baby here. He wasn't violent. He died. He got killed in a car crash. It's a good baby. You know what? Because you're a kohen. You don't wear a hat and jacket. I'm going to give you the chachamim. You guys, the other people, are going to go with Reb Shimon Gamliel. Not like that, but like that. There's somebody to be soimachan. So since there's no other way out of this, unless you want to ruin this guy's life, he can never marry her. So we have to be soimachan rabbanon. But in this case, where a guy got married to a woman who has a baby and he didn't wait 24 months, there's no shita, there's no rav in the world that says it's okay to stay married. Kiman Navid. Ikir Meir ha'omar yoytzi v'liachzer ilamas. Meir says, let's punish him. A guy got married when he wasn't supposed to get married. Chacham made a takana, you have to wait 24 months. He didn't wait, he jumped the gun. He can never marry this woman. So certainly we can't use his shita here. Viki Rabbanan Amri beget. Rabbanan say, no, you have to divorce, and later on, after 24 months, remarry her. So there's no shita that says don't divorce. And therefore we have nobody to b'samichan, so we have no eitzah. Itmar. Kitcha b'soy shloisho barach. What are we talking about, Rabbi Isai? We have to restart our thought for a second. Over here, we're not talking about Yibum. Over here, we're talking about just a regular woman, an almana nevach. She lost her husband tragically. She wants to remarry. She's supposed to wait 3 months. Why? Every case, every divorcee, every widow has to wait 3 months just in case she's pregnant. We need to differentiate, to discern who's the father of the baby. 3 months. I have a riddle. In what generation did they not have to wait 3 months? There's never a suffix. If it's from this guy or from that guy, it was always clear. Anybody? Who? Why?
Because they were all it fits into one of the things we learned.
You're guessing. You're guessing. Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. Anybody? It is the Dar Midbar, but because through the man you were able to see how many kids a person had. If the guy had 6 portions of man by his door, so you know that this baby is his. The other guy had nothing. Okay. The guy pulls off shtick here. He goes and he gets engaged to this woman. He's Mekadesh her, and he runs. He runs for his life. What's he doing? Basically, what he's saying is, I don't want to be married to this woman because I'm not allowed to. You have to wait for 3 months to see who the father is. But I want to make sure she doesn't get engaged to somebody else. So let me get engaged and I run. He's almost a good guy. Don't think of it as a bad guy, like he got engaged and just left her in Aguna. No. He's waiting the 3 months somewhere else, not in her house. One of the two say, too bad. Let's put him in Cherim. The fact that he ran away, he's proving to us that he's a good person. He wants to keep Chachamim's Gzeira of waiting 3 months. And therefore, we don't have to punish him. Hava Uvda, there was actually a story of Amar Lu Rafram, Irukim Istaye. Sometimes, the actions that a person takes, they help him out. You can see by his actions. There was Lakewood Erev Pesach. I got to tell you this Maisa, a great Maisa. You could say it over at your Seder when the island was falling asleep. There was a woman who came to the Rav. Said, Rav, I have a big shaila. No, my husband is searching for the 10th piece of bread all night long. Could he stop searching? He can't find it. So Rav scratches his head. Yeah. He could stop. Tell him he could stop searching. So Rabbi, I have one more question. Could I tell him where I hid the piece? All right. Zog the Gemara. Sovim mein tesha. We have a suffix whether this child is from the 9th month or from the 7th month. Omer le Rav Rav Nachman leima halach achar roiv nashim. The whole time we have a concept of roiv. Most women give birth after 9 months. So why is it a big deal that some women give birth in the 7th? We should assume that this child who was born is from the first husband 9 months later. Yeah, what happened? You have a guy, a Yavam, he dies. 2 months later, his brother steps in and marries the Yevama. So now, and then 7 months after the second brother is Miyabim, there's a baby. Now it's possible it's 7 months from him and it's his child, or it's 9 months from the first guy. But most of the time, women give birth after 9 months. Says Rav Nachman, it happens to be in my family, they all give birth after 7 months. I don't understand what you're saying. Okay, very good. So you guys have some defect. You give it, all the women give birth after 7 months. But what does that have to do with my question? I'm asking most of the women of the world. There's at least 4 billion women in the world. So from the 4 billion, I'm not talking about your little family. I'm talking about all the women in the world that give birth in the 9th month. Right, at least 51% do. Oh, that's literally what my daughter just asked me. She came by over here and she said, what's that drawing on your screen? I explained to her the case. There was see soon, and she asked me the question. Okay. And I said, her baby is 5 pounds, 5.5. It was a full-term baby and only less than 6 pounds today. So there's a chubby premature baby and a skinny, whatever it is. They had a suffix. If the kid comes out full head of hair and he weighs 11 pounds, you're right. But if whatever the suffix is, there was a reason for a suffix. And besides, you see that things have changed slightly. There's in the time of the Gemara, the 8-month baby wasn't viable. Today it is. Different things. I don't know what the size was then. What I don't know. What is that most of the world? This is what I meant to say. Most women give birth to the 9th month. And just a minority give birth in the 7th month. That's why I put this on the chart over here. There's a pasuk in Bereshis Vayikim Shleish Chadoshim. This is about Tamar. Look, she got pregnant. When did they realize she was pregnant? That's basically when you could tell that a woman is pregnant. So, again, this is in time of the Gemara. It seems like it was different types of babies. This also can answer your question. They had different types of pregnancies. There's a pregnancy of Shiva, a pregnancy of 9. It's not that she was a pregnancy of 9 that happens to give birth in Shiva. There's a different kind of mitzias then. A woman who gives birth to 9 months, you could see it after 3 months. But since, I don't know what the mitzias was, it's an interesting mitzias. But this woman that you couldn't see and you couldn't tell that she was pregnant, Itrale Ruba. We have a problem with the roiv. Anytime you have a roiv, it has to be solid. But since over here, something's wrong, something's different than usual, you couldn't tell that she was pregnant after 3 months, even though roiv women you could tell after 3 months. Me'mela, there's no roiv. Itlale Ruba. The roiv is no good, it's bad. Itra, it's bad. If every single woman who gives birth after 9 months, you could tell after 3 months, so then certainly then you have a raya that it's a 7-month baby, not a 9-month, because you didn't see. Okay, so take the word kol and flip it into roiv. Most women who give birth after 9 months, most of them you could tell after 3 months. Okay. Or just, instead of major terrorists, it's just most women you could tell. And this one you couldn't tell, but it's not a raya, one way or another. Well, what happened? Again, so we have, I don't know if we need a picture for this. Nah. Okay, let's say just the simple picture. You have Ruvain was married to a woman, and he dies. Now, instead of Yehuda waiting 3 months like he was supposed to, he marries the Yevamos. And then they had a baby. Here. So I'm stealing a chart from later on. This baby, is he kosher or pasul? Does he have any problem? Could he be a kain gadol? Absolutely. Why? Because manavshach. Either he's Reuven's child 100%, and therefore he could be a kain gadol, or he's Yehuda's baby 100%, and Yehuda was allowed to marry the 5-town woman because she's a Yevama, she needed Yibum, she needed either Yibum Chalitza, and they had a child, so he's 100% the kain gadol. That's all the Gemara is saying here. Rishon Roy Elias kain gadol, the Sheni mamzer misafik. However, the second son that comes after the son, who was born to Yehuda and the 5-town woman, he's a mamzer. He's a suffix mamzer. Why? Because what if this guy right over Yisachar was actually Reuven's son? So then Yehuda wasn't allowed to marry the Yevamos because she's a Eishes Ach. She's the wife of his brother, and that's always usher unless it was necessary to be miyabim. But since it wasn't necessary to be miyabim, so he's over on erva, on arayis, and it's a chiyuv. What kind of misa is it? Kares. And since this kares, any child that comes out of that union and marriage is a mamzer. But it's a suffix mamzer, so we don't know. He might be legitimately married to her because she needed yibum, maybe not. Suffix mamzer. But Taisa asks a very, very interesting question, Rabbi, and it's a good idea. Question: you have a group of 5 kohanim. One of the kohanim went, married a woman, and now came a baby. Then he went back into the group. He mixed up the group. The woman has no idea who the husband is. It's one of the 5 men. Could that kid be a kohen gadol? The father's a kohen. The wife, he gave her kiddushin. The whole thing, everything is good. But he got mixed in a group, and they have no idea who the real father is. The halacha is that kid, well, I shouldn't say kiddushin. Forget the kiddushin. That kid cannot be a kohen gadol. Why? In order to be a kohen gadol, you have to know who the father is. So what about in our case? You don't know who the father is. It could either be Reuven or Yehuda. And the Gemara says, well, mimanav shach, he could be a kohen gadol, because either he's Reuven's child or Yehuda's child. But that's not true. According to the Gemara and Baba Kama, you have to know who the father is 100%. So Taisva says, a big chiddush, what? You have to know who the father is. In order to be a kohen gadol, it's not a problem in the child. He's not a psul. But he cannot be a kohen gadol. He can't be the biggest guy in Klal Yisroel, going to Kodesh Kodashim, if he doesn't even know who his own father is. But Taisa says a chiddush that over here, since there was nothing wrong, there's no znus going on here, and there were mimanav shach, it was a good marriage one way or the other. Whoever his father is, it's 100% legit. Therefore, there's no issue. Zok the Gemara. Torah baron rishon royli is kohen gadol sheni mamzer misafek. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Aimer ein mamzer misafek. The second guy, according to Chachamim, is a mamzer misafek. According to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, there's no such thing as a mamzer misafek. So what does that mean? What if you just read it as is? What would you think it says? Ein mamzer misafek. He's not a mamzer, or he's a very, very big mamzer. What does ein mamzer misafek mean? It seems like he's not a mamzer, but that's not the pshat. Ma'iko Amar. Omar Abaye 2 pshat. We have a machlokes here. Abaye and Rava, and whatever Abaye says, Rava is going to say the exact opposite. Harigo Amar Rishon Royali is kohen gadol. That we know. That's a given. The first kid that comes out, either he's the son of Reuven or the son of Yehuda. He's 100% legit. He could be a kohen gadol. V'sheni safek mamzer. He is a safek mamzer. According to Tanakama, we don't know for sure that he's a mamzer. Sometimes it's better to know what you are. If a person is 100% mamzer, it's a good thing, because then he can marry mamzeres. Over here, it's a suffix mamzer. And a suffix mamzer on the tzad that he's a Jew, a regular Kaddish Yid, he can't marry mamzeres. According to Abaye, Rebbe Lezer comes and says, Einoi suffix mamzer. He's not a suffix. Elo vadai mamzer. He's not a vadei mamzer, right? Because we don't know that he's for sure mamzer. Maybe his father married that 5-town woman because he had to. Maybe there was al pi halach, he should have married her. But it's like a vadei mamzer to the point umutar b'mamzeres. That's what Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says. There's no such thing as a suffix mamzer. Says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, you're right. We don't know what he is. Is he a real mamzer or a fake mamzer? Or a half a mamzer? Or not a mamzer? But halachically, we're going to pass him that he's a regular mamzer to the point where he can marry a mamzeres. That's what it means. Ain't suffix mamzer. Why not? Oh, no, because When it comes to Lavei B'Kahal, you have to be, you have to know for a fact that you're B'Kahal. If you're in a category of a suffix, then you marry Sveikas. That's what they hold. What's the Lashon here? Rashi brings the Lashon. You have to be, I don't see it right off, but no. There's Lavei B'Kahal. There's a Lashon of coming into the Kahal. It has to be, I don't see it here. But anyways, it's one of the Lashonos that if you're not 100%, then you're in a different category. Let me just see if I can find it real quickly for you. No. Okay, fine. If somebody finds it, let me know. It's in Rashi. Zog the Gemara. You see Lavei B'Kahal somewhere? Where? I just got no. Oh, the Kahal Gerim Leik recall that one, maybe. Okay, fine. Zog the Gemara. Rav Omar, Hachika Omar. Rishon Roilis Kohen Gadol that we said. The first baby, Mimanav Shach, he's kosher. V'sheni Mamzer Vadei Misafik Umuta B'Mzeres. So this is the exact. He's taking the Tanakama, making Reb Lezer Yaakov and Reb Lezer and Tanakama. V'sheni, the second kid, Vadai, Sheni Mamzer Vadai Misafik. We consider him 100% a Mamzer because we have a suffix. And therefore, Mutam B'Mzeres. This is what Abba was saying in Reb Lezer Yaakov. But he says it in the Tanakama. Reb Lezer Yaakov, Ein Vadai Mamzer Misafik. You can't make somebody 100% a Mamzer because you have a suffix. El suffix Mamzer. No, he's only a suffix mamzer, and because he's a suffix mamzer, he has a problem on his hands. Also b'mamzeres. Who could he marry? If he's also b'mamzeres, who could he marry? No. A giyaris. Okay. Become iflagi b'the Rebbe Lazar, and the machlekes Abaya and Rava is in Rebbe Lazar. This not Rebbe Lazar Omer vadon b'vadon mutter. If you have somebody that's 100% and 100%, they get married. Vadam misfeikon, but somebody that's Jewish, somebody that's 100% good yichus, bisfeikon with somebody that we don't know, he might be a mamzer, might not. Usfeikin bivadon, usfeikin bisfeikon, even two sfeikas. You hear this? Zalman, sfeikin bisfeikon also. Veilun sfeikon. And this is what a suffix is. Shtuki va'asufi. There's a shtuki. Shtuki is a kid that tries to say, hey, daddy. And the mother says, shut up, be quiet. It's not, no, it's not your father. Kids, sir, we don't know who the father is. And asufi, I'll tell you what asufi is, because Steve Jakubowski is here. So I got to say the mice, even though I just said it probably a week ago. And it's Erev Pesach, Lakewood Pesach. This was going back like 15 years ago. I'm sitting at my Seder table 1, 2 in the morning. My family already went to sleep. It was me and my brother. We're doing Shir Hashirim at the end. And there's a knock on the door. We thought there's a knock on the door, but we ignored it for a second because who's going to knock on the door? Like 1:30, little Seder. So we ignore it. And then the knock comes back. There's a knock. It's a definite knock. So I get up, I go, and I open the door. I don't see anybody. And I'm about to close the door, and I look down, and there's an asufi there. There's a baby in a little bassinet. And I'm like, is somebody playing a prank on me? They put a little doll there. So I take a look, and the baby's blinking its eyes. It's looking at me. It's blinking. Like, oh, no. This is not good. Like somebody just took their baby, dumped it by my steps at 1:30 in the morning. So this whole thing's going through my head. And I'm like, what do I do now? It's Yontif. I can't call the police. I can't, I have to now walk. So I'll just take the baby in. Tomorrow we'll worry about it. And I'm thinking about this. It's not a bad baby. It's a blonde baby. It's a whole thing. Shmag, blue eyes. And as I'm like getting ready to pick the baby up, Steve's son jumps out of the bush. Ah, I got you. 1:30. These kids are what? They're like 14. He's 14 years old, this kid, no? So, no, they're 14. So this happened 15 years ago. So we almost had an Asufi kid in here, Steve. Steve, get over here. Get over here. Come on, get over here. We got to start bringing people up here in Chicago. You're embarrassed of the mice or what? It's a true story, no? Finally, somebody could testify the story. You have anything to add to that? Camera shy, yeah. Well, don't you litigate on something? Well, no, not on camera. On Zoom. Okay, so a kid that you just pick off the street in the bassinet, you have no idea what his lineage is. The kusi, we know about the kusim. Now, kusi, ger arayas, ger emes, the bottom line is that they didn't really believe in the Torah Shabbal Peh. And one thing that we know that they didn't agree with is how to be Mekadesh a woman. They said, money and a shtar is not for Kiddushin. That's not how you do Kiddushin. So Mamela, if that's not how you do Kiddushin, then they have a lot of Mamzerim running around. Because somebody that did Kiddushin with money, they consider it not a Kiddushin. They'll marry that person, etc. Fine. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, the halacha is like Rabbi Bresler, that what? That a suffix, even with a suffix, can't get married. Two sfekis, two mamzerim that we don't know, are they 100% mamzerim, cannot marry each other. A shtuki cannot marry an asufi. An asufi cannot marry a kusi. All these sfekis guys, a kusi and a shtuki is no good. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Bresler. Can read the Shmuel, Amar Li. Shmuel, Rav and Shmuel, right? So Rav says that looks like Bresler. Shmuel says, Omali, Hillel, Shona Asor Yuchsin Olam Mibavel. Hillel, the famous Hillel, yeah? So poor, he didn't have enough money to get into the shul. He went to the rooftop, looking through the window, he froze. Hillel, Shona Asor Yuchsin Olam Mibavel. There are 10 categories. Kahani, Levi, Israeli, Chalole, these are Kohanim that married illegally, so their children are apostle to Chalalim. Geirei, converts. Charurei, these are avodim who are free. Mamzerei, Nisine are Gevoinim. They fooled Yeshua, they fooled Klal Yisroel, they pretended they just happened to be on the way. And we got lost, take us in, we'll be converts. Kitzer, they made them shoyavei mayim, choytfei eitzim, shoyavei mayim. Rashi says a very interesting lashon. He says they have a tzad avdus. Because Yeshua made them draw water and cut wood, chop wood, then they have a little bit of slavery in them. So Shtuki, we just explained, the mother says, be quiet, that's not your father. Va'asufi, grabbed him off the street, you collected him from the street. These are the 10 categories. V'kulon mutarim lavoi ze bezeh. All 10 of these, based on these words, can marry each other. Now, it's not accurate. To the point, Rashi just points out, this is what the Gemara means, and I just made a quick chart for that. There are actually 3 categories, says Rashi. A Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael can intermarry, as we do today. Yisrael can marry Kohen, a Kohen can marry Levi, no problem. Then the next category is that a Levi, Yisrael, Cholol, Ger, Eved. I should have put a little, some, whatever, dash in between. But anyways, it looks like one long word. The Levi, Yisrael, Cholol, again, is a Kohen's kid that came from a illegal marriage, let's say to a Grusha. The kid is a Cholol. Ger, and an Eved doesn't mean Eved, I just didn't have room for a larger word. It means a freed slave. All 5 of these can marry each other. Yisrael can marry a freed slave and a ger, right? You can marry a giyaris, no problem. And then finally you have the bottom category, not such a great category. You have ger, Eved, mamzer. The mamzer is in that category. Nasan, shtuki, nasufi. So you have 6 in that category that can marry each other. That's what he means by saying, v'chula mutarim lavei ze bezeh. Not literally the shtuki with the kohen. It means within all these 10, there's a bunch that can marry each other. Okay. But the problem is, look at the last category. What are the last two in the last category? Shtuki and Asufi. What are they? They are the ultimate suffix. You don't know who the father is. Shah, be quiet. Don't call that guy your father. Or the Asufi kid in the bassinet, you found him by the fire station. You don't know who his father is. And it says, Mutarim Lavi Zebazeh. In other words, a suffix can marry a suffix. Who says the opposite of that? Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar just finished saying that a suffix cannot marry another suffix. A suffix can't marry a vada, and a vada can't marry a suffix, and a suffix can't marry a suffix. So a shtuki can't marry a shtuki can't marry a sufi. And over here it says that the red category can marry each other. A shtuki can marry a sufi, and a sufi can marry a shtuki. A ger can marry a sufi. In other words, there's no problem to have a marriage within a suffix. What does Hillel say? This halacha that we just learned, that a suffix can marry each other. There's a famous concept in Shas. Everybody knows this concept. Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, Kavanaki, Mishnase Kavanaki. The halacha is always like Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. Now, I want to take Hillel, one of the greatest Tanaim, and match him up, or match Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov with Hillel. You don't want a problem between those two. The halacha is always like Hillel, and the halacha is always like Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, so you got to put both of them in the same category. Great. Rav is sovereign like Rav. But Rav, on the other hand, holds like Rav, don't malach Rebbe Eliezer. No, the halacha is like Rebbe Eliezer that says that a suffix cannot marry each other. And he's going to say that Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov holds that a suffix can't marry each other. We just turned to Amud Beis, sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of Jolly Joe Kraus and family, and also sponsored in honor of Ed Kinsbursky, Brian Kinsbursky, and Ari Miller for learning the Daf. Omar Bai. Says Abaya, I'll prove to you, like me, not like Rava, that Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov holds that any time there's a suffix, he considers it 100%. The sign Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer. Two halachas Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov says. A person had relations with a lot of women, and he doesn't know who and where. Then the same thing with her. She doesn't know who she was with. Look what kind of disaster could happen. This person has children everywhere. There's a very, very famous, I don't want to mention his name even though he said it, a big tzaddik in the Talmud Chacham in Eretz Yisrael who said he has no idea how many children he has. Because he's a Baal Tshuva, he has no idea. When he was younger, he was an actor, and he has no idea. He has a problem. He doesn't know who his brother is. He doesn't know who his mother is. He doesn't know, his daughters. He can marry different people. It's a terrible thing. His children today have to be careful who they marry because they might be marrying their own sisters. And it's a terrible thing. There's a lot of mamzerim. In other words, he holds that it's a vadai. These fakers turn into vadai by him. Could they marry Gerim? I don't know that he's saying not to get married at all. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Gerim, it's a good eitzah. It's always a good eitzah. Ger is always a good eitzah. Where was it? The Gerim were very upset and they threw bones at him. One Gemara, because he darshan this. He said, yeah, you can marry Gerim. And there was a town full of Gerim. They started they did not like it because you're saying that they're not considered a kahal. Zoi mahi. Take a look at this chart. It's not the greatest, but the word zima, says Rava, doesn't really mean that it's mamzerim. The word zima, that's what it says in Torah. You read it downwards. Zu mahi. It's a Rosh Tevis. In other words, a suffix. Don't say, Abai is saying that according to Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov, there's a vadai, there's mamzerim walking around like Yosef ben Zev was saying, so you mamish can't get married. No, there's a bunch of faking running around, not vadai. Yes, I can't over Yaakov. Now, more than this, forget about a guy that's mizana everywhere and he has a lot of women. I'm talking about, says Refuah Yaakov, just a regular guy who lives in America and then he decides to go to Eretz Yisrael and get married. Why? Okay. Eini asked the Gemara. This is a very famous Gemara. It's a very interesting Gemara. It needs explanation, and we have to understand it. Eini v'horav ki ikla l'dar deshir Rav the Gadol Adar. Whenever he went, whenever he traveled, machriz v'omar man hava liyoyma. He would get married to a woman in that city for one day, or for whatever days he was there. So let's talk about the story for a second. Because of the fear of being over in Avera, of having thoughts or whatever it is, so anytime he traveled to a distant place, and the Gemara is going to explain and qualify what's going on exactly, it sounds crazy, he would get married. Now everybody wanted to marry Rav, the Gadol Adar. So you announce who wants to get married for a day or two, a week, in order for him not to be over in Avera. Now, first of all, if we just take it at face value, the Gemara is going to explain they didn't really have relations. It was just to have pas pasaloi, so he has something to keep his Yetzer Hara away. But I'm thinking to myself, imagine if they said, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, he traveled, he went to America, he asked who wants to marry him for a week. This guy's off his rack. This is the Gadol Adar. Finished. Put big signs everywhere. Chaim went off his mind. Sugar, Russia, I don't know what. Yet, Rav Nachman, they felt that even though people might think of them as crazy, it's kedai. To not be over in Avera, you have to do whatever it takes. Okay? So, again, we're here, Erev Pesach. Pesach is a time that we're mevar the chametz. So you have to think about things that we have to get rid of. Different things, yeah? Netflix, whatever they like to call it. All these different zachen. Not to be over Avera. What people do not to be over. But what's going on here? So first of all, the Gemara brings this as a kasha. You see, it says that when you go to another city, you shouldn't get married over here and then go to another city over there and get married again, because you never know, your son might marry your own daughter. So how in the world did Rav go to another city and marry another woman? It's a problem. Says the Gemara, Shani Rabbanon, the Pikiya Shemayu. Imagine, let's say Rav actually had a daughter. You don't think people are going to talk? This is Reb Chaim Kanievsky's kid. This is the Rebbe's son. Everybody talks about it. This is the biggest thing in the world. You know, the Rebbe was here for a week. This is his kid. It's Yichus. They wouldn't say Rebbe Yichus, Rebbe She'enikol. So we're not concerned. That's not a concern. As the Gemara, but a different problem. Now we're going on a little bit of a tangent here. We're going off the sugya, but it's cool. Any woman in the world who was asked to get married and she agreed to get married, if a woman is excited to get married, the attraction causes her to see dam. And Memela, she has to wait 7 days. So how is it possible that Rav shows up to the city and says, who wants to marry me for a day? And shouldn't she be an automatic nida on the spot? Shouldn't he have to wait 7 days? Stam, a technical question. How did this whole thing work? Says the Gemara, you know, like when Obama comes to, whoever the president, I don't know who the president is today. So whoever the president is, when Reagan comes to Chicago, so the, not the CIA, what do they call it? The Secret Service, they come like a month before, 2 weeks before, and they start welding all the manholes and they check all the buildings. So, okay, so when Rav also, when he goes to a city, they have to be masada what's going on. They say, hey, any available women here that need to get married for a week to Rav? He's coming soon. Very good. So yes, at that point, when they agreed to it, then they saw dam. But 7 days went by. Oh, now here comes the Gemara. This makes a little bit more sense for us. There were only designated wives. There weren't real wives. Nothing ever happened between the two of them. On the far occasion that Rav would have some taiva here or whatever, okay, fine. Then he actually went ahead with it. But 99.9% of the time, it was just a designated wife in order that what? If a person is hungry and he has a loaf of bread in his basket, then he doesn't have to worry about eating and fasting. The misha is just a euphemism, it's a mashal. So a person has a designated wife on the spot, then he could be, he's married, right? He's married, he has a wife where he came from in Bavel, but he tells his wife, don't worry about it. She's a fake wife. Don't worry, nothing's going to happen. It never happened, never will happen, but it's pas besala. Okay. So that explains it a little bit more better for us, because we're not holding there to understand what exactly, it doesn't make sense. The Gadol Hadar, a wife, okay. But to get away from Hirurim and Isurim, designated wife is good. It's interesting how this falls right into the sugya, and the Gemara is hinting here to something. Yaakov says, and this is very important, there are people out there, believe it or not, I'm sure from the 12,000 people that are watching this shiur, there's 1 or 2 people, Rahman al-Islam, that are thinking about divorcing their wife. After Yontif, they're going to divorce her. Let's just get past Yontif. We're just going to marry off this one last child, and then we're going to get divorced. Is that okay? So the Gemara here says it's not okay. Unless it's discussed between them, I don't know. But over here it says, Le'isa Adam Ishtai, a person shouldn't stay married to his wife, V'daita Ligarsha, and he has intent to divorce her. Because there's a pasuk. Al Tachroish Al Re'echora, don't think about your friend to do harm to your friend. He's sitting with you in the same house. She's sitting there with you. She thinks she has a secure marriage. And meanwhile, you're plotting on divorcing her. That's 100% asur. Asur. No. So what happened here with Rav? It's l'chayra. It didn't just fall in there. Yeah, it's Rebbe Elazar Yaakov, and we're talking about Rebbe Elazar Yaakov. But why is it here in the sugya? L'chayra to tell us that Rav told these women, I'm here for 3 days. This is a 3-day marriage. I'm warning you right now. I'm not plotting. I'm not going to suddenly divorce you. You are going to be divorced 100% in 3 days from now. Huh? To marry Rav. You wouldn't want to be married to the Chavetz Chaim for 3 days. Come on. It's unbelievable. You put it on your resume? Not you, but to Rebbetzin Kanievsky for 3 days. Zog the Gemara. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know what the Metzias is. Listen, you're talking about, she's probably a woman who wasn't married for 40 years. It's Kedai. It's going to go real good in Shidduchim. She'll tell everybody else, you know who I am? I'm Rav's ex-wife. You don't want to marry her? Are you crazy? They're going to jump and marry her.
Is it just Kedusha or Kedusha and Chavod?
Don't know. So far, you only see Kedushin here. More than that, I don't know. Very, very interesting. We are now going, and I don't recall, for a very, very long time, having a sugya in Dinim Mamanis. This is Mamish, Hilchas Mamanis, Hilchas Yerusha. We're learning Nashim now. Like, we have to realize that we're done with Megillah, Tainus, and all these things. We're in Nashim. And a lot of times in these Masechtas, we find ourselves talking Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra, Yeshnoichlim, all these things. Here we go. Beautiful cases here. We're going to have a number of cases today. I believe we're going to have 4 cases. Tomorrow we're going to continue until the Mishnah. Safek v'yavam shabo lachlik b'nichsei misna. So check this out. Here we're going to go in a sequence here to make it easy for the Olam. Over here you have Ruvain, who was married to 5-towner, and then he drops on his side. Comes Yehuda, the brother, and he performs Yibum. And of course, he's a troublemaker. He didn't wait for the 3 months, and 5-towner has a son. Yeah, you want to see how that happens? Boom. She has a son. The son, Reuven, when he dies, he left over a pile of cash. Now this son could either be Reuven's son, and therefore he's entitled to the entire pile of cash. And Yehuda has zero to do over here. He shouldn't have been with 5 towner at all. He gets 0. Or it's possible that the son is actually Yehuda's son. Yeah, we don't know. He was born 7 months later, and he might be the 9th month to Reuven and 7th month to Yehuda. We have no clue. Yehuda says, I want the pile of cash. The little Yisachar guy says, I want the pile of cash. Over here, you could just see, I don't know if these lines confuse you, but you could see that the blue on the right shows that it's possible that he's a product of 5 towner and Reuven, or he's a product of Yehuda and 5 towner, and that is the suffix here. So, who gets the cash? What? What do you mean? The little guy wants the cash. If Yehuda's Yisachar's father, yeah, it doesn't matter. The Yavam gets the Yerusha. Remember, Yavam gets all the Yerusha. Somebody that does chalitza in our days, there's a minhag that he gets 50%, but a Yavam, he gets the entire Yerusha. So and so you're going to say, well, so anyways, one day he'll yarshin his father. Well, maybe the guy Yehuda has a bunch of kids. Maybe he's going to waste it on Lamborghinis and lavish vacations. He won't have any money left. The little guy wants it today. Yeah, so it's a suffix. Suffix v'yavim shubo lachli b'nichsei misna. They came to divide the pile of cash of the guy that died. Suffix Omar Ano Bar Misnu. The little guy, the Suffix boy, Yisachar, he says, I'm the son of Reuven. V'nichsei didiyu and all the money is mine. V'yavam Omar at broi didi. What are you talking about? You're my son. At v'les lach v'lei midi b'nichsei. You don't have anything with that pile of cash. It's all mine. So what's the halacha? Have a maman amud b'safek or maman amud b'safek chalkin. Remember the sumchos, the whole thing. When we have a suffix like this, nobody could prove whose son he is. Therefore, 50% goes to Yehuda, 50% goes to Yisachar. Suffix ubnei yavam shabo lachloik b'nichsei misna. Here's the case. Yehuda goes belly up, and Yehuda has 2 sons. And now there's an argument between the 2 sons and the little guy. Yeah, the sons are from somebody else. Yeah. Well, what's the difference? What's the difference? Oh, so what? Who says they don't get? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm the son of Reuven, it's all mine. B'nei Yavam Amri, at achinu at, you're our brother. U'menasu di yislach ba'adon, and you just get a third, let's say. No, there's a new case, brand new case. Before they were able to split, that's another case. What you just said is another case. We're going to get, that's the 4th case. That they split it, and now there's another question on the next generation. We'll get there soon. Over here, in this case, they didn't get a chance to split. Yehuda got into a car accident, and bye-bye. Perhaps this is exact Mishnah. Disnan, hu eni yorish oisam, v'heim yorshin oisai. What's the case? Over here we have similar, but not really. What happened was 2 people married this woman. First, Reuven got married and he drops. Then Yehuda gets married, and each one has children. And again, we don't know. Forget about Yibam over here. Reuven had 2 children, right? Reuven has. I ran out of kids, so I put the typical brothers as his sons. Don't ignore that. Just he has 2 sons. If he has 2 sons, there's no halach of Yibam over here. But there's another question here. Because Yehuda got married to this 5-town woman and they had a child. We don't know if the child is Reuven's or Yehuda's. Nothing to do with Yibam. The little guy in the middle, yeah? Is he Reuven's son or is he Yehuda's son? We don't know. Same suffix as we had before. Not because Yehuda was performing Yibum. Yehuda is not even related to Reuven. He happens to be a bald man in this case, but forget it. Stop, I should have mixed it up differently. It's a little confusing. I wrote married, not Yibum. You see? First Reuven got married, then Yehuda got married. Nothing to do with Yibum. Two men married the same woman, but there's a question who, the little guy in the center, does he belong to the right or to the left? They're not brothers. Now, the two sons of Yehuda, they'll inherit the Yisachar. But Yisachar, the little guy, can never inherit anybody. He's Yotze Kireach Mikan Mikan. So there's no, because we're talking about Tzfekis over here. When it comes to Safek, what he did, what he didn't do, that's between him and Hashem. But we're talking about Mumminus. Mumminus. Who owns this Yerusha? Who owns what? But anyway, there's another Mishnah later on. And the Mishnah basically says that the little guy loses. The brothers inherit him. He doesn't inherit any brother. Great. Over there, in this case over here, the brothers, the plumbers, and then Shimon and Levi, they tell this little guy, if you could prove who you are, we'll give you. Hacha, by us, Amar Lahu, the suffix tells, here, let's go back to our case. Here's our case. The suffix, you see, Mimanav Shach, the suffix is going to get money here. Either he's Reuven's son and he gets everything, or he's Yehuda's son and he gets a third. But he tells the two brothers, who are you? You're not 100% getting something. You might not get anything. So you're a suffix. If you could prove something, I'm like in this case, the little Yisachar guy, he doesn't know who he is. Either he's Shimon and Levi's brother, or he's the plumber and the dentist's brother. So since he can't bring any rice, he gets 0. So too over here, l'chayra, the two brothers can't bring a raya at all. They should get 0. Amar lahu Reb Misharsha, no, midami. Hasaminu vadai v'yu safek. Hachi idi v'idi safek. Says Reb Misharsha, amazing. Look at this case right over here. You see how Yisachar, is he a vadai or a safek? What is he? Why? He 100% gets Yerusha. Here, let's look at this carefully. You happen to be right, but you don't know why. Let me explain to you for a second. The Gemara started saying, you see the little Yisachar guy in the middle? He's either Reuven's son, and he gets what? 100% of that pile of cash. Or he's Yehuda's son, and he gets 33% of the pile of cash. So Memeli is a Vadai. He's 100% going to get some Yerusha. Says the Gemara, you made a mistake. He's the biggest suffix in the world. You know why? Because we don't know who he is. We don't know if he's Reuven's son or Yehuda's son. Yeah, we don't care about what the outcome is. He might get some money or not. But he's a huge suffix. Whereas these guys are not a suffix at all. They know exactly who their father is. So you can't compare cases, says the Gemara. In this case, believe it or not, Yisachar is considered a suffix. You hear?
What if the Yisachar was before?
Forget that. These are side things. What is Yisachar? He's a big fat question mark because we don't know, is he Reuven's son or Yehuda's son? I don't care that at the end of the day he's for sure going to get 33%. That doesn't help the fact that he's a suffix. Whereas the sons in this case, look at the sons. They're not a suffix. They know exactly who they are. They know they're coming from Yehuda. They can marry, they can be Kohen Gadol because they know who the father is. The Yisachar doesn't. I'm just throwing that in. Anyway. We got to go. Rabbi said we're late. Correct. And you know what the halacha is, Rabbi say? That is not a suffix, but he's a suffix. And that's the chiddush. He is a suffix. And in fact, because of what you just said, Rashi points out, he 100% gets a third. Not only does he get a third, the other 2/3 that are left over, what happens? 50-50. So how much does he end up getting? 66. He gets 2/3. But that's not the point. The point is that he is a Mr. Suffix. How much money he gets in his bank account doesn't help the suffix. That's what the Gemara is saying. Let's see inside. They know who their father is. View suffix. You want to compare it to some Mishnah? Lo adami, to another Mishnah. Gufei. So this is another case, Rabbi Isai. Here, who's the Yavam in this case? Yehuda. Look what happened. The pile of cash moved to Yehuda. Yehuda's a Yavam now. And Mr. Yisachar says, I want some of the cash. Why? Now all of a sudden he says, I'm a brother. I want to get a third. And what are they going to say to him? No, you're not a brother. You're a son of Reuven. Get out of here. You don't deserve any of our father's money. There's no connection between you and Yehuda. You're somebody else. Go get your father's money. He died without a penny. Too bad on you. So, this is more similar to what we're talking about. Over here, they tell him, like he's telling, in our case, he tells them, but in this case, they tell him, if you can't prove who you are, get out of here, you don't get a cent. Now, next case. Lebasar, this is what Yank is saying. Lebasar, the Palag Yavam Benichse Misna. So here goes. Remember, let's go back a step. What happened was, there was a question, who's the father of this little guy Yisachar? And because there's a question whether he's the son of Reuben, the son of Yehuda, what do we say happens? 50%. He gets $50 million. And who gets the other $50 million? Yehuda. The Yavam gets $50 million. Okay, so now the Yavam is sitting on a pile of $50 million. Guess what happens? Then Yehuda goes bye-bye. Comes the little guy and says, wait a minute, I want some of that $50 million. I'm a son of Yehuda. So they tell him, no, you're not a son of Yehuda. You're a son of Reuven. Really? I'm a son of Reuven? Then your father never got a $50 million check. Yisachar got all the $100 million. The only reason your father got $50 million is because your father said that I'm his son. But how could you tell me that I'm not your father's son? If you think that I'm not your father's son, then give me back your father's $50 million. What's the answer to that? You can't take it back anymore. Once they pass in the psak, maybe, that's it. There's a psak. Now we're starting fresh. This is such a manda omar. Let's see inside. So, this is not Yevamos, Rabbi. This is Mamish Nezikin. This is like Maminas. Again, step one is that Yehuda took half of the pile of cash. Why? Because he claims that the little Yisachar guy is his son. Step two is that Yehuda goes bye-bye, and now the little guy says, I'm his son, so I should get a third. The sons, the two guys, the plumber and the dentist say, if you can prove that you're our brother, then you could get a third. Suffix, so the suffix tells them, wait a minute. You better give me a third right now, because that's your cheap way out. If you're going to push me off and say that I'm the son of the original guy that died, then give me all the money that you just inherited from your father, or the big pile of cash, at least, give it back to me. No. Once we paskin in this case, in the year 1987, we paskin that the pile of cash goes 50-50, you can't take it back. That's it. Now there's a new thing, and later on the guy dies. Over here, we're going to start fresh. Come Dina. No, Rabbi Meir says it doesn't make sense logically. You can't dance in two chasanas. Either he's a brother, or he's a not brother. You can't say, well, Bezin already paskin, then what is it called? Statute of limitations, whatever. No, there's no come Dina. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir, Omar Hadadina, Rabbi Omar come Dina, Rabbi Meir Hadadina. You can take it back. Very similar like gewaldige stuff over here. This not. It says in the Mishnah, Check this picture out. I found a gewaldige picture. This is true things. This is real. This is in China. The guy owns the red field in the center. And you could actually see in this picture, there's a bridge on the bottom right corner, and there's actually a pathway going right through all the fields. He lost his pathway. He went away and he forgot. He came back many years later. He forgot from what direction he gets into this field. Admin Omar Yelech Biktsara. So Admin says, let him go. Just follow the path. You see the path? Right into the red field. Either he takes a helicopter, a drone, or literally, that's what the Gemara says, or you could pay $100,000 for the right to go through the guy's green field. He has to pay through his nose. The Gemara says, wait a minute. Admin is saying, good. L'chayra, you should go the shortest way. You didn't understand what happened there. It's not owned by one person. If it was owned by one person, so Admin's right. Let him go the shortest way. But what's happening is each field is owned by somebody else. There's 4 different people here. What? Oh, because I don't have to give you a right. Go to him. He'll give you a right. And he'll tell you go to him. Each one will push it off. If I'm the only guy, it's you against me, so I once went through. Now, give me the shortest way. You can't push me off. What are you going to tell me? To go to who? You owe me the right of way. But if there's 4 people, each one is going to push off to the other one. Now, Admin doesn't look good. Why would Admin say that he gets the shortest way? When 4 people bought 4 fields all around, or it's today's 4 owners who bought it from one seller. Everybody agrees if there's 4 owners, each one doesn't have to give right away. So what the machlekes is, one person bought 4 fields all the way around. Since one person bought 4 fields, so now the guy that needs to get into this field, he could say, listen, I don't know who you bought the field from that I used to go through, but you owe it to me, one of the 4 fields, so give it to me. He has a trick. He could say, listen, either get away. If you don't, I'm threatening you. I'm going to give back all my fields to where I got them from. Anyway, you're not going to be able to get it from them. You agree to me, if there's 4 owners all around, you can't get in. So just because I'm one owner, I'm going to give it back. Whatever that means. He's going to give it back, you give it back. Says Gemara, so isn't that similar to our machlokes over here? No, it's not similar at all. I know he has a solid taina. No matter what, he always walked through. 10 years ago he walked through. Just happens to be, he forgot exactly how it was, what direction. But he knows he has a way. By our case, over here it's 2 different, he's coming from 2 claims. He's either coming from Ruvain or from Yehuda. But he doesn't know exactly what. He's not a solid. So in Mela, it's different. That's what we just said, word for word, or just repeating. He has the way to get out of it because he can say, listen, I'll give back the field. The bottom line is, over here, he can't say, he can't threaten him. There's nothing to threaten. These children that are yarshining, they can't threaten him. They're going to give back Yerusha. What are they going to do exactly? By us, he could threaten him, and Mela, he's not entitled to a way through. Therefore, it's different than our sugya. Have a wonderful day. Yishkoyach Reb Simi Mandelbaum for the food and everything else you do for us. Yishkoyach. Rabbi Isai, just real quickly. Well, if somebody's listening remotely, the following schedule. So we're continuing. Lel B'dikas Chametz, 9:30, because people have to do B'dikas Chametz. It's a little late, but they have to do B'dikas Chametz. Erev Yontiv, and I believe, I have to look it up again, but I believe that night, even though it's 9:30, so let's say Shiur is over 10:30, 10:30 is going to be a second Shiur, because we have to do 2 Shiurim because of Yontiv. And then the following day, Erev Yontiv, there's a Shiur right here at 2 o'clock. Whoever comes. I might be by myself, me and Yoel Bergman. And then Matzah Yontif is 10:30 in Mundelein. Probably nobody's going to show up there. If somebody shows, we'll find whatever. We'll find the place. And throughout Yontif, Be'ezer Hashem, I'm going to be right here at the same time, 8 o'clock during Chol Hamoed.